Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I am your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is episode number 141, and it's all about me. If you follow me on Instagram and you look at stories, you may have seen a surprise plot twist. I was bitten by a copperhead snake on Friday night, and I'm going to tell you the story about that because I need to tell the story, and a lot of people are asking. So whether or not they really wanted to know, now you're going to know if you choose to keep listening. First things first, I'm fine, and I'm going to be fine. And I'm not going to lose any limbs, so we'll just get that out of the way right away. So here's what happened. Me and Manflesh had a quiet 4th of July on the couch watching shows, which is exactly what we wanted to do. And I don't know, around 8:30, we decided to take a little walk. It was twilight, and we walked around our property, and he went to go inside, and I'm like, I'm just going to wander over to see Dad, because Dad lives in our backyard in his little camper. So was walking back just a few steps off the patio and felt the worst sting of my life. It's like the worst wasp sting that you've ever had. If you've ever been stung by a wasp, they're like such vicious little fuckers. You're like, my God, why does this hurt so bad and so suddenly? And it was on the my right foot. So I shook my foot, my flippy floppy went flying, and then I saw a snake slithering away, and it was reddish. And I'm like, oh shit. And the pain was immediate and furious like the hounds of hell. So I knew immediately what had happened, and I just started hollering for Sean. And so as far as I know, snake venom does not travel through the bloodstream necessarily. It travels through lymph, which is why when you get bit by a snake, it's most important to stay as calm as you can and to not move as much as possible. But I did want to be getting myself off of the grass, so it was only a few steps to get onto the patio. So I sort of hobbled my way onto the patio and just stood there yelling for my husband. And he came around the corner. I explained to him what happened. He went over to see if he could find or see the snake, and saw a different snake, like a rat snake, slithering away. So the snakes were out, and he surmises that it was the fireworks that were disrupting them and sort of driving them out into the open. Don't know why. You'll have to ask the snakes. But then I was like, could you please get off the grass in your flippy floppies? And he was like, yes. And like, okay, sit down. Don't elevate your foot. Keep it low because of the lymph that I mentioned before. And he runs inside to get supplies. Not 60 seconds later, he had moved or brought the truck up to the patio, helped me hobble my way into the truck. I'm going to tell you, it hurt really bad. It's not like, I wonder if that was a venomous snake. It was like, bitch, that was a venomous snake. There is no doubt about it. And it did start pretty small, just like around, because it bit me on the middle right toe. One little fucking pinprick, okay? Just one. And that was enough. So at first it was just like all my toes felt like they were on fire, and then they started to swell, and then the fire kind of started moving up. So he was driving to the hospital as well as calling ahead to make sure that the ER had a compound pharmacy that could make antivenom. They said yes. He was such a legend about the whole thing. There is no one better to have around in a crisis than Sean. He is always just extremely level-headed and pragmatic. He's like, well, we need to do this, and we need to do this, and we need to do this. And one of those things like includes holding my hand. And because he was so level-headed and so good in a crisis, that meant I could attend to my only job, which was not to freak out. The pain was pretty bad. I would say that at this point it was a 7 climbing to an 8. So I was doing my box breathing. That worked pretty well. And I did that until we were there. Within half an hour of getting bit, I was in a hospital bed. Luckily, it was early enough in the night. It was around 9 p.m. So all the people who were bound to like blow their fingers off with fireworks had not yet begun to arrive in the ER. So it wasn't wild yet. I'm not even sure if it got wild. More on that later. So blessedly, I'm in the ER, in a bed, meeting my nurses, trying to make jokes with them. The pain is really bad. But they're like, we're going to give you something really strong called Dilaudid. And it's an intravenous pain medication. So they gave me the first dose, and I felt it enter my body like a big, like, woo, and then it did nothing for the pain. Nothing. This went on for a while. Meanwhile, the pain was intensifying. It was very much at an 8 at this point. Worst pain I've ever felt. I'm not screaming, but I am sobbing. And Sean's just like holding me and letting me cry, and we're like mashing the call button. They gave me 4 doses of Dilaudid before it even touched it. And I felt the effects of pain medication. I felt high as a kite, but it just wouldn't touch the pain. And this is a really interesting pain too. It's not steady at all. It's like it's alive. I think the word I used at the time was sparkly, like a seltzer. It would seem steady, and then it would shoot up to a 9 in very unpredictable patterns. Another interesting thing is that they had to wait for the swelling to reach the second joint, which in my case meant the ankle. They have to do this before they'll administer antivenom. And the reason is because they don't want to administer antivenom. Because if the snake bite had been like kind of mild, then they would just watch me for 8 hours and send me home. But if they have to give me antivenom, they have to hold me for 24 more hours because there's so many complications that could arise from the antivenom. Super interesting. It was not an experienced snake. An older and more mature snake may have, just given me a little bit to scare me off. This was a young snake, and young snakes are worse because they have not yet learned how costly metabolically it is for them to make venom. So they'll just shoot their whole load into you, which is what this one did, through the one fang into the one pinprick spot, like the whole damn thing. And snakes are born with venom and fangs, and a lethal amount of venom, although copperhead bites are not usually lethal, very rarely in fact. But I can tell you they hurt like a motherfucker. So because it was a juvenile snake and a very serious bite, even with just the one pinprick, the swelling definitely got to the second joint, and they were tracking it by like drawing a little line on the outside of what was quickly becoming a sausage foot. And once it reached the ankle, they're like, all right, up to the ICU you go. I'm like, the ICU? And they're like, yeah, you're going to be in intensive care for the next 24 hours. I'm like, oh shit, okay. So I went up to the ICU, and they hooked me up to the antivenom, and they said it will take about an hour for all of this to enter your bloodstream. And that was the thing that finally did counteract the pain, because it began to not reverse the effects of the venom, because you can't do that, but to neutralize the effects of the venom. So interesting. So by the time the antivenom was fully in me, it was around 12:30 in the morning. And so now I finally had some relief from the pain, and I was still very high from the Dilaudid, because there was like, they gave me a lot. I'm not exactly sure how much, but they were like, we're impressed. Like, we had to keep an eye on your heart rate there because we gave you so much Dilaudid. And I was like, thank you kindly, much obliged. At this point, to my legendary husband, I was like, please go home and sleep. There is nothing you can do here. All I want to do is pass out. And he didn't want to, but it was for the best. Like, please go home. Please go sleep a little bit. So he did. My nurses were amazing. Mostly I just like slept fitfully for several hours. And they would give me some more medicine. They're like, where's your pain level? And that's when I started to learn how difficult that scale is. And like, they have to use some kind of scale. I get it, but that's a really hard question to answer. And then I learned it's because, like, the Dilaudid that they gave me, that's for a 7 or an 8 on the pain scale. Otherwise, they gave me a Tylenol. Like, surely, one of my nurses, actually, Cindy, she's like, let me see if I can get you something for this in-between space, okay? Between, like, a 3 and a 7, because that's a lot of time and space in between. Like, I'm going to agree with you on that. And she did. She also, like, got on the phone with United to see if, like, because I am flying to the Irish Aerial Dance Festival on Thursday. More on that later. And a regular seat is not great because I need to try and keep this foot elevated as much as possible at all times. So she really went above and beyond and got that process started. So here's another thing I want to tell you about, okay? I was not allowed to leave my bed, right? They actually had an alarm on the bed. So if I tried to get up, an alarm would get up and the entire ICU would be notified that I was being naughty and trying to get out of bed. Now, I had no desire at all to do that. But so you might be asking, what about peeing? How are you going to pee if you can't get out of bed? Did they cath you? No, they did not. I'm so glad, because I'd have no desire to be cathed. But what they did have was this thing called a Wix. And it's like a little hot dog made out of rubber, and one side of it is absorbent, like a paper towel, and it's connected to a tube, which is connected to a vacuum. So you just like shove this little hot dog thing between your legs, and you just pee when you need to pee. And as soon as that little absorbent pad detects moisture, it turns the vacuum on, and it vacuums your pee up through a tube, and you hear it like plopping into the jar behind you. It is wild. And let me tell you, not easy to just like lay in a bed and be like, and now I'm going to pee. Your entire physiology is like, no, you're not. We don't do this anymore. We haven't done this since we were a young child. You're like, but you have to. Like, oh God. And every time I'm like, this is the time it's not going to work. I'm just going to pee all over this bed. But no, it worked every time. What a world, huh? So cool. A much more elegant solution than catheterizing someone. So yeah, I had to stay in there for 24 hours, which was a long day, and you could like sleep on and off, and Sean came twice. And my friend Shan came to visit me and brought me some books, which I was too high to read, and some lotion, which I had too much shit stuck to my fingers to get on. So she did that for me. Thank you, Shan. Love you. Being in the ICU is like the weirdest luxury hotel ever. Like, it's not pretty, but the bed is comfy as shit, and you can move it up and down and push a button if you need anything, and they'll just bring you food 3 times a day that you didn't order. And for dinner, I think they brought me collard greens and sweet tea. I'm like, oh my God, yay. So weirdest, most expensive hotel ever. I actually don't know what the expense is going to be like. That's a problem for tomorrow, Rachel. We're not going to worry about that right now. So the after effects, right? I cannot walk on it for 30 days, which means I am effectively disabled for the next month. And that would be an adjustment no matter what. But I am flying to the Irish Aerial Dance Festival in a couple of days, which means by the time this gets released, it'll be the next day, which means I'm about to be everyone else's problem. I did offer them an out, like, this is going to be a pain in the ass. Do you still want me to come? They said yes. So Paul, because he's a legend, rented me a wheelchair. So I will have a wheelchair and I can use my crutches inside the tiny apartments easily enough. And already this is my second day home right now. It's obviously a learning curve. Like, I can get around on the crutches pretty well, but you can't carry anything. I've tried, when Sean wasn't looking, because if Sean sees me trying to carry something, he's like, "What are you doing? I am right here." So yeah, it's tough, but what a time to have the opportunity to experience this, because July is Disability Awareness Month, and I saw a meme the day before I got bit, which was, disabled people are the largest minority that anyone can join at any time. And that just really stuck with me, and lo and behold, here I am, joining that group. And I feel very lucky and privileged because I am, because it is going to be temporary, but it's going to be very real for that time. So it's an opportunity that I intend to honor and accept and learn from. And there's so much that that's what privilege is. You don't notice because you don't have to. I was hobbling through the kitchen earlier today to get to the bathroom, and the dishwasher was open. I'm like, well, foiled again, because I can't get past the dishwasher. We also went to a grocery store last night, which meant I got to ride in one of those little mechanized carts, which of course I've always wondered what those would be like, and now I get to know. And what they are like is very slow, but convenient. So I'll be learning. I will be learning. And I'll report back to you, but of course, it won't be for a while, because what's about to happen is I have 3 more podcast episodes to record before I leave on Thursday. So you won't actually hear me assimilating this information for several weeks, because the next 4 episodes have to be pre-recorded. So I'll let you know in August, what this has been like. Another interesting aspect of this experience has been that all my witch friends found out and were like, "Okay, I see you getting that snake medicine." You are right. The medicine has been got. Don't think I could have gotched any more of the snake medicine than I did. And snake medicine is about transmutation and radical acceptance of all aspects of your life. So I'm attempting to honor that as well. And so far doing a pretty good job, but we're only 2 days in. So I don't want to be too overly confident in my abilities for transmutation. But someone asked me, "Are you mad at the snake?" I'm like, no. The snake was being a snake. I was being a human. Everything happened exactly as it was designed to happen. If anything, if I'm honest, I feel a little bit honored by that snake. I'm like, well, I got me some snake medicine. That's 0.002% of Americans that ever experienced that. There's another minority that I joined. So here we go, ready or not, here we come. Sean, continuing to be a hero, called customer service at United and got all of my seats upgraded to bulkhead so that I'd be able to elevate my foot after the plane levels off, which is going to make all the difference because it is torturous to have it down for too long. Landing at the same time as my good friend Samantha Dean, who I will then enlist to help me get this trollopsome bag onto a bus so we can get to Dublin city centre and then take the train to Galway, where we're staying for a couple of nights. Good to have friends. Good to have friends. If I had any issues asking for help, this would be really hard. I don't. I used to. I used to have that thing, well, I don't want to bother anybody. And, no one likes bothering someone, but also, like, you have to ask for what you need. And that was the harder lesson of my life that I learned about 50 times before it sank in. So I'm going to ask, and no one has to say yes, but they probably will, because people are lovely, by and large. So that's the story of my snake bite and how I'm going to be wheelchair bound at the festival. So I'll be easy to spot, or maybe not, because I won't be as high, but I'm the one wheeling around. I'll let you know how it goes. Thank you for listening to my story. I know this was all about me, very self-indulgent podcast, but I had a story to tell. I wanted to tell it, so thank you so much for listening. As for how this snake medicine is going to, be assimilated into my life, I'm not sure. I will keep you posted on it, but I do already feel this drive and permission to let it rip. Like, if I have an insight, then I'm like, oh, that's feels a little bit savage to say. I think I'm going to just say it. And then if it's not received well, I can give care where care is needed, but blame the snake. Blame the snake. The snake didn't pull a punch, so neither will I. The snake also didn't offer any aftercare, and I will. It's not in a snake's nature, but it is in mine. All right, my friends, I will wrap this up. Thank you so much for listening. If you have requests for future episodes, you can reach me always on Instagram at Rachel Strickland Creative or on Patreon at Rachel Strickland Creative. This podcast is powered by Patreon. So all of my love and loyalty to my incredible patrons for making this podcast and so much more possible in my life. Thank you for standing with me, even when I'm laid up. I could not exist this way without you. Thank you for being here. Until next time, my friends, wear closed-toed shoes in the grass and don't go back to sleep.